Let's have another swing at this conversation on ensuring inclusive governance, a missed opportunity. Well, the whole idea of this conversation is to raise awareness, create public discourse, and urge the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria to act in nominating a qualified person with a disability for a ministerial position through a collaborative effort between TAF Africa and MacArthur Foundation. Now, this series, Ensuring Inclusive Governance, is intended for that purpose and to let you also know just what this whole conversation is about. Expectedly, we should have two, but we have one gentleman with us this morning to have this conversation. Ambassador Jacob Pele is the CEO and founder of TAF Africa. Thank you so much for joining us again, Ambassador.
Thank you for having me. Good morning.
Now, so far, I mean, we've had this conversation a couple times. So far, what has the response been? How has the momentum gathered on this particular series?
Well, we haven't been contacted in any way. Not me, not any member of the community of persons with disability that I know have been contacted by the government, any arm of the executive. I'm not aware of that. And that further shows and bring to national consciousness a bit of the insensitivity of Tinubu's administration, in such a sensitive matter. But we're not resting on our oars. We are looking at the situation holistically, ensuring that we have the buy-in of all our critical stakeholders and exploring various options that we can take to enforce our right, because it's our right. We're not asking for anything that is more like a token, but then we're asking for what is our right, fundamental right, and what the law says. 5% of employment or appointive opportunities must be given to persons with disability. At this point, to the best of our knowledge, nothing of such has happened. And to ignore over 27 to 35 million people who are citizens of this country and feel that they don't matter and feel that they don't need to sit at the table at the Federal Executive Council meeting through the cabinet is a total disservice and neglect. And we are not going to fold our hand and watch this happen. What will I tell my generation? That I was here when this hideous issue happened, and I'm not able to do anything, So we are looking at the situation holistically, and like the president said, as per the actions that ECOWAS is going to take, nothing is off the table. For us, nothing is off the table.
How about state governments at the state government levels? Any conversation? Because I mean, that would be significant as well, don't you think?
Yes, of course. We're engaging the subnational, the governors. Some of them I have personal relationship with, most of them, but I can tell you here for free that we have written to all the 36 state governors, every one of them. Unfortunately, we got only a reply from just one, which is the Enugu State governor, which is commendable. Although some of them, like the Plateau State and all that, we have very good personal relationship. We're in talks with them, and Most of them have really gone ahead to appoint their commissioners. But then we are not insisting that it has to be that. We are looking at other appointed positions. Within the week, I was told that Governor Makinde has has given a very significant position to persons with disability, But the thing that we see as a likely missed opportunity is the ability of these our community members to sit at the table where concrete decisions for nation building and the building of the subnational are made. And those who are making this decision needs to be well informed so that they will know what the challenges and the opportunities that persons with disability can face or bring to the table. So the idea is to ensure that we are included where decisions are made. And it's important to underscore this fallacy that, oh, don't worry, we will be there. We are working for everybody. You don't work for everybody when you don't know the individual need of a particular segment of people. So there's a need for us to interrogate this advocacy, and those that we are advocating to must give a listening ear so that they can do something that this generation would always remember them for. Okay. Most of the governors are very smart individuals, with intention to lead and bring the dividends of democracy to the front burner. Well, but they need to take a step further and give a listening ear to this agitation.
How do you think governments at various levels address this inclusivity from the perspective of the SDGs? That question is asked in the light of something that you said earlier, that there is a law, all right, that backs up this advocacy that you're making. But then there is also that international agreement to which the federal government of Nigeria signed, leave no one behind. Is this a way of saying that as far as you are concerned, the federal government of Nigeria is leaving people with disabilities behind?
Exactly. I mean, that's a very strong postulation, and I've always known that you're a self-advocate for the marginalized, and that's a very important, powerful point that you have raised. Not only are they leaving a certain very integral segment of people behind, they are violating the very instrument that they are signatory to. The CRP, the Convention of Rights of Persons with Disability, Nigeria is a signatory to it. The African Protocol on Disability, Nigeria is a signatory to it. And all of these instruments, these are international instruments which we signed as a country to respect the provisions of those instruments. And for the government to turn around and violate the very principle, the very instrument that they are party to, it's nothing but irresponsibility, So I think it's something that they need to take a second look at because before it becomes an international embarrassment, Why would you, and don't take it for granted, I'm an advocate for women. Even the women didn't get enough of what they should, but at least they got something much more reasonable, Ours is appalling because we were totally and absolutely excluded. And I want to warn this government that the cost of inclusion is smaller compared to the cost of exclusion. When you exclude the critical mass of people that you need to make part of your government, it shows how insensitive that government is. And I think President Bola Tinubu, if he's not watching, his people are watching, needs to do a rethink and include persons with disability in their list so that we can be part of nation building. I reminded him on several fora that he said, let the poor breathe. Is he now breathing on our neck? Are we getting to, is it pushing us to a place where we will suffocate? You know, so there's a need for this inclusive government. And it's not because we don't have the capacity. It's not because we have disability. We are saying, take people that have what it takes to be part of governance and to bring to the table, you know, their capacities and competence, you know, including character, which we have. There are many qualified members of the community that needs to be carried along. And it will be gross injustice if we're excluded from this government. The previous government have done better, at least in the area of disability inclusion. You know, there are a lot more things that they didn't do well. But in the area of disability inclusion, President Buhari did well. President Bola Tinubu is showing that he is not interested in sustaining the gains of disability inclusion from his previous, from his predecessor. If at the end of the day, he does not respond to our advocacy for inclusion of persons with disability in his cabinet. Let him be the first president to do that.
How does this underrepresentation of persons with disabilities in political positions impact policy making and governance?
Well, in policy making, the very first thing you need, my brother, the very first thing you need is critical stakeholders. Critical stakeholders with various ideologies. You need to congregate them and bring them to the table to interrogate the vision and the mission of that policy. So you can imagine when a policy is being made at that level, there is total absence of persons with disability. That policy is null and void because the critical people that you're making that policy for are not there. So it's a total exclusive policy which does not in any way, sit in line with the principles of inclusion. So when persons with disability are not there when you're making policy, they are not part of the strategic stakeholders. They don't offer their opinion. You know, they don't give the opinion around that policy. You know, they are not there to tell you how to use simple things like the right terminologies. They are not there to tell you how to, what kind of devices or technology that is required, you know, to help the community of persons with disability that you're making that policy to, you know, for. So it's important that we underscore and underpin the fact that the days are gone when people in tie and suits that sits in an air-conditioned office will make policy for people that they don't know and think that that policy will be embraced by that people that they are making policy exclusively, and you have excluded them. So there's a whole lot that we can bring to the table when it comes to policy making. That's why most policies also are not implemented, because the people that made the policy went on an academic exercise. They stimulated their brain. Meanwhile, it's not practicable. And then the people that will implement and drive that policy are not there. They don't have understanding of the policy. And I think this is one where also awareness comes in. You know, when you want to make policy, the first thing you do is critical stakeholders mapping, and then awareness of that policy, the thematic focus of that policy, and then funding of it So you can imagine where the community of persons with disability comes together and engage the budget office, engage the National Assembly. Oh, definitely, you will get the funding for the policy. And then after that, you will need people to drive the implementation. And where you don't have them to drive the implementation, that policy is an exercise in futility. That policy is what can be described as what I always say that is a policy on shelf 14. That means it will never use. It will be there to gather dust, you know. So excluding us in policy making is a danger to the society and to the future of the most marginalized in this country.
Well, let me also ask you this. Now, in the light of current realities, what are the actions you will propose? What specific actions do you think the Nigerian government can take to ensure that persons with disabilities have equal opportunities to participate in politics?
Well, the answers are there, begging for anyone to undertake. Number one, engagement. Bring us to the table. We are not in the subsidy committee. Meanwhile, you are making decisions for the most marginalized. And no one member of the most marginalized is in that committee. We are not in the tax reform committee. There's a whole lot that we can bring to the table in that committee. Now, it's almost looking like we're not going to be in the Federal Executive Council, you know, and several other departments of the government shows absolute absence of persons with disability, you know. So when we are not there, how can you tell me how you will know what the needs are? You know, who will tell you the numbers? Who will represent the critical stakeholders, even within the community? All the clusters have no representation. Are we not citizens of this country? Is it a technical steps to marginalize us and make us feel that we're not part of the citizens of the country? You know, so there's a whole lot of a bunch of disservice moves that we are seeing, that generation born and unborn will not forgive this government if they neglect us.
Now, how about those who wonder whether or not persons with disabilities play actively in party politics? Because there are those who would wonder, okay, maybe some of these things are easier because a good number of the people that are usually appointed for these positions have one political underpinning or the other. Is this something that you think going forward can be a thing for the community to play actively in party politics and consequently influence not just appointive positions, but also to even play significant enough roles to the point that no one will be able to say these people don't matter? They have to be taken into consideration.
Exactly. Let me start where a few years ago when we started the campaign to get persons with disability participate not only in politics but in the electoral process. You know, before 2023 election, what we have been seeing are maybe 2-3 people contesting for elected position. This time around, there were 35 of them that contested for elected position, you know, and unfortunately, they didn't win. There are also some aspects of some individuals who are persons with disability who contested and won, but unfortunately, I'm being told that they don't want to be identified as persons with disability, which is unfortunate. And it's like living in denial, you know. I mean, come on, I am a person with albinism. There is nothing anybody can do about it. I don't want you to tell me that, oh, you're not. No, I am. Telling me I'm not is an insult, you know. So it's, there's a move, there's a strategic move, even within the community, to galvanize and show and mobilize persons with disability to contest for elective position. Now, some of the frustrations are internal party politics, internal democracy of the political parties that does not give room for the emergence of persons with disability. Or fortunately, I must say here, you know, that the APC structure seems to be one of the best. I'm not a politician. I'm strictly apolitical. But the truth remains that they seems to have one of the best structure for persons with disability. Having the structure is one thing. Implementing what the structure says is another. And that's what is playing out now. In terms of structure, they have a very good structure, you know. But then, if you have a very good structure, why can't that structure produce a very good result? You know? Questions. Someone somewhere is not willing.
Questions, Ambassador Pele, you know, because, I mean, this is the second in the series of this conversation, and one can just hope and expect, because I'm just trying to imagine what, you know, one significant appointment would do for that population of people living with disabilities in Nigeria. Well, now the board...
Let me quickly answer that question.
Yes.
Because it's a very important question you raise. One, it will serve as a role model for the entire community.
Oh, certainly.
Two,
certainly.
It will give them the impression that they are part of the government.
Well, most certainly, you know, I mean, it was actually a rhetorical question for those who understand it. But then there are those who may not really understand it that we have to really, you know, factor, you know, in so that at least they get a better understanding so that they can influence what they can. We have to thank you very much this morning for being a part of our conversation. Jacob Pele is CEO and founder of TAF Africa. Thank you again for your time today.
Thank you very much, and thank you to the management of Channels TV. You have always been a trailblazer. Thank you.
All right. So we're back right after now to talk about your mindset. Yes, and how it can help you to heal yourself. Right after now. We'll be back.